Right guys, this is sort of following on from the other video, and I do want more comments on this type of stuff because I can only do it from my perspective. And one of the things I will say is I accept I have a perspective, and I accept you guys may have different ones. This is the whole point of these conversations, is that we're grown up adults here. We can have real conversations. We don't have to call each other racist or anti-ageist or sexist or anything else that the world seems to be pinning down on people at the moment, which is creating this bubbling point. It is creating a bubbling point because, let's face it, the minorities are pushing and prodding the majorities, and my biggest concern is that we'll reach a boiling point. Something's going to light the touch paper sooner or later. But anyway, some of this stuff's going to be quite strong, simply because it's to get the conversation started, but also I want to put my view in there as well, because I believe most of this stuff is we're ignoring the middle because we're not getting that information, and that's the biggest thing, because you get annoyed on left or right. It's the bit in the middle that's missing that actually says, well, that's a load of nonsense, or this is a load of nonsense, or hang on a minute, that's not all the facts. But we don't get into this bit in the middle because we're in a society where news is only as long as a few seconds, and then they move on to the next story, etc. So it's allowed facts to become, it's allowed thoughts to become facts before they're confirmed. So, as an example, there's a stabbing in London a couple of days ago. Two black guys on the train. There's a provocation, something going on with them. So in the media, I've already seen in the media, they don't describe the fact that they're black. They're just men or youths or whatever. It's watered down. It's very politically driven. It's keep all the facts out. Now, the problem you got with that is, over this side is getting sick and tired of it. Because I get it from both sides. I can get they don't want to see, from a media perspective, don't want to see people going, we need to do something about that, and we keep watering it down, it's fine. It's just a random attack. But if you start putting facts out there, people actually start demanding action. Over this side, they can see that predominantly a lot of this crime is committed by certain demographics. For example, they want it in there to actually be more politically aware, or actually to say it's about time we got rid of the mayor, it's a bit of this, etc, etc. It's more driven. The bits in the middle are the bits that I think need to be either addressed, or we start ignoring both sides and just say, well, that's what society wants, so let them carry on, none of my business. And it sounds very blasé, but I think actually having that ability to just say, stick it up your backside, you want to run it that way, you just keep away from me, keep all your nonsense to yourself, clicking off, not having the media, I'm not buying your newspapers, I'm not watching your news, I'm not doing this, done with it. That may actually have more of a reaction and change than many other things. But let's move on from this, because I don't want to get too focused on that. But I understand the train thing's quite a relative one for me, because there's often a demographic that's an idiot on the train, especially when I'm going between Birmingham and Birmingham University. For some reason, it's always, it doesn't happen all the time, but it's always the same demographic. You go in the quiet coach, they think it's cool to come and do rap music or whatever, walking through with music blasting, thinking it's funny or whatever. Morons. In the same way, when I was going up to the airport about 4 weeks ago, this is why the knife thing, I understand there is a cultural problem that people refuse to accept, which is, for me, is just nuts. But I was sat on the train, and as I say, you often get this same demographic. It ain't white guys that do this, it ain't white women that do this. Not that I've experienced, and I'm on the train quite regular. Don't get me wrong, I'm loud on the phone, because especially if I've got headphones on, so I know I can be quite loud, but that's why I stand away from everybody where I can if I've got to take a phone call. So I understand and try and rein in. These guys are trying to make it bigger picture piece, bigger noise, want to be noticed, want to be the big man. So I'm on a train, there's 4 of these black youths. They're playing rap music really loud, and then trying to rap, and they're discussing the rap where somebody's actually discussing stabbing somebody else in the rap. And then they go, oh, would this guy do this to would he be able to do it, or the other guy? And you're seeing it. It's a cultural and mentality thing. We're ignoring this stuff at the moment. It's in your face. You're literally on the train trying to mind your own business because you've got other stuff to do. And these people are in your face talking about stabbing people, listening to rap music, whether one rapper could stab another one. And as usual, all dressed in black, as if they're really hard to find, these people that are committing these crimes, etc. Hence, oh, let's get rid of the stop and search in London. Now, I've got to admit, when I was younger, I used to get hassled all the time with the police because, having a car when I was quite young. I think I got stopped 14 times in 1 month. But when I started to go, I'm going to raise a complaint about this, because it wasn't a case of I committed any crime. It was a case of, oh, young lad, car, pull him over, check his documents. Oh yeah, I don't know, the police are just thick or something. Surely, with the low number of police in the area, they knew they would stop me multiple times in the same month. Every month there's probably at least 46 times. So I understand getting stopped, and guess what? I'm not black. So I understand the hassle factor. But I also understand the fatalities that are going on that seem to be just being ignored. And if you look at the fact it's not just London, because this is part of the media circus, it's fixated on London. There is crime, knife crime going on all over the UK. And you have to think it's not just about that crime. The bit in the middle is, how are we getting here in the first place? It's not just rap music. It's just the fact that the guys I was stuck with on the train for nearly an hour were fixated on that and thinking it's quite normal, and who could have... Why are you getting into this conversation? I don't go down thinking I'm going to hurt someone else, blah, 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 on a daily basis. Don't get me wrong, some people do wind me up and you would like to smack them one, but it doesn't mean I go and do it. But the crime's bigger than that. And then the connection of why are we getting to this is the bigger piece. And the bigger piece is, do we actually care? Because the opportunities to affect us more and more are becoming real. There's a massive problem in the UK. I wouldn't say it's much here in Spain. Everyone seems a bit more laid back here, but maybe because I'm on the coast and the average age is 68, or yeah, it's 68, I'm sure it is. But when I look at Northampton, there is a drug addict, pretty much all drug addicts that are doing it that I'm aware of. They sleep in nearly every supermarket door. You go down the town centre, there's a lot of drug addicts around the town centre, sleeping in doorways, etc. We have a growing problem. And I've got to admit, coming out of the UK, then coming back, I just thought, what the hell has happened? I've seen people living in tents in graveyards. I was watching a thing yesterday where they're talking, there's 800 people, 800 caravans and motorhomes people are living in around Bristol. There's pretty much an obvious problem in the UK. People say cost of living. I say cost of housing. Housing has been artificially inflated and pumped up and pumped up and pumped up and pumped up, to the point is you're starting to go down the route of have a house to have a room in a multi-occupancy environment, and even that is starting to squeeze the smaller landlords, etc. We're in a society, it's in a shift, it's in a political shift. Now, what that looks like is it's probably as much as your thoughts are, but as much as mine. But I want to give you my thoughts just to give a bit of perspective on what I think's going on, because I do think it's a bigger picture piece. Because it's not just going on in the UK. You look at what's going on in New York, in other parts of America. You look at the influx of people across Europe, etc. It's more prevalent where, UK and US, because that's where my media circus is. I'm not fixated on what's going on in Germany, but I know Germany's got massive problems. I know France has got massive problems. And people fixate on the immigration, but you're going, but why are they here? And don't just tell me little Jimmy from Somalia is because he's got problems in Somalia. It's a bigger picture piece. Firstly, you can increase property values because you're going to keep driving up the cost of everything, because the demand is going to increase, and having 12 people buy into a house, working whatever they're doing to pay for it, even if they're triad gangs or whatever, still buying properties, the prices will keep going up. Your spending power keeps going down. Your cost of living has gone up, and yet your ability to get out of the hamster wheel reduces. We're in an environment that encourages us to be the best person we can be, keep training, keep learning, progression. It's not about being content. It's not about being based. It's not about having a realization that being where you are may be the best for you. It's about having what you haven't got. We're driven by consumerism. We're driven by get focused on your personal development, get focused on this, because you're not politically motivated at that point. You're too busy. You're going to work, you're doing your degree, you're doing something else, you're doing this, trying to start a small business, the fixation is keeping you away from the politics. Hence, we get back to media story versus people getting annoyed that facts are missing. But we're never filling in the facts. Richie Sunak, I seen yesterday, I just read the headlines, and I think the guy's a twat. But he's on about he's going to stop the boats for the UK. Okay. It sounds like the same news headline that's been going on for the last decade. They're doing nothing. Reality is, it's the same as we have in Spain. People arrive in a boat. What are you going to do about it? I've even seen them, even in La Mata, where boats arrived here, and then you've seen the police and the Guardian and everything trying to grab people. But they're not grabbing them to arrest them, because in theory they're all refugees, because they all burned their papers or whatever before they arrived, so they all come from war zones, etc. It's a cartel, it's a syndicate. But are we doing anything about the cartel? Are we doing anything about the syndicate? Or are we fixated on the boats arriving here and not where they came from? What is driving people to come here? Don't even talk about that. Oh, it's because life's better here. But we've got problems with drug addicts, people getting stabbed on trains, crimes go through the roof in many places. We've got, I think I was watching a documentary on Leeds in Germany earlier, where many of the shops are facing bankruptcy due to being robbed so often that they can't actually function their own corner shops, etc. Corner shops are an important part of community. We're starting eroding many things like the pubs, etc. Because the pubs, let's face it, went from being pubs, which are drinking locations, to restaurants and trendy gistro. gastropubs, etc. They're not community led. They just gives you money, get out. Gives you money, get out. They're not about quiz night on Friday, all that sort of stuff. And actually, everybody knowing each other. The divisions have been appearing all over the place. Everything's been eroded over time. Nothing we're facing is in your face. Everything is sort of tweaked, pulled away from you. So like there, like I say, fixations on the stabbing on the train. Not where they come from, what's causing it, were they drug dealers, were they are they criminals? Was this just random? Was this a random person attacked on the train? The amount of people that get stabbed and stuff in the UK is horrendous. Serious crimes up, etc. What are the police doing about it? That news article, that's as much as they're doing about it. Because we've sort of made the police a laughing joke in the UK. To the point they probably struggle to get numbers. Plus they cut police, then add police, and we treat police as if they're morons. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan of the police. Never have been. Normally because they're bugging me about stuff that's stupid. And I mean that in a positive way, in the sense of it's like somebody got attacked a few years ago on the doorstep of a friend's house, and they'd gone to work and I was waiting for them to come back. So they come in like, oh yeah, you don't fit the guys, somebody was mugged on the doorstep, can we come and search the house and whatnot? It's like, it's not my house, but yeah, help yourself. But I understand the frustration of being a police person in the UK, because we are in an environment where the smartphone makes a mockery of them. You got gangs attacking police and making a mockery and sticking them on TikTok, etc. Because what's going to happen to them? Well, they're going, you're only 16, it's not your fault, it's society's fault. We're not punishing people, we're not holding people accountable anymore. It's always society's fault, it's always someone else. Yet, this gets back to where I say the separation of political elite. That's where I think things are heading. You won't be able to touch these people in the same way you don't touch party members of China. It's heading that way. I can see it coming. If you look at what happened to Alex Belfield, it's an interesting one. Not because of what happened, because I do think he was trolling, in my personal opinion. But if you look at the way Jeremy Vine is, you'll see what he created an issue of and how he actually engages with others. And you'll think, sounds very similar to the way Alex Belfield. Yeah, in my personal opinion, if you look into that stuff. But they are seeing this degree of separation. And with the BBC, I didn't even write the BBC down because I don't like opening that can of worms, simply because it's such a mess and in your face that you don't really understand how they get away with so much. I mean, okay, I'll say it, Jimmy Savile, and then all the other people related around the same time. They're all connected. Oh well, definitely would have been engaged with each other. You do wonder, considering that's supposed to be a government establishment, why so much was going on there. And that gets back to the Jimmy Savile stuff come out. They went on a witch hunt. They got your Rolf Harris's, your who else was there? There's a few of those people. But do you think that was all of it? Or do you think we're missing the middle bit, which is how they got away with it for so long and who else was involved? I'll leave that one with you. As I said, these things are not so cut and dry. A lot of this stuff also politically leaked in the 60s. You've got to understand, if you look at the people that are normally shouting and screaming online these days, have normally got pink hair, green hair, nose piercings, and I didn't get the job today because he didn't like the way I looked. It's like, yeah, this may shock you. It may actually be how you're dressed. I mean, if I'm going for a job interview, I don't sit with this t-shirt on. I actually get dressed for the interview. I wear a suit, I wear a shirt, I tidy myself up. I don't have to comb my hair, but I do make an effort. And this is the bit, that's on this side. This is the argumentative, annoying, yeah, we've got rights, you should call me they, there, and all this sort of stuff. And over this side, I go, why do we need to call you they, there? That doesn't even make any sense. And the argument becomes like that, rather than saying, okay, so why do you think this makes any sense? What do you mean? Well, I can understand the other side, the gay marriage thing, fully understand it. But me calling you they, their, him, her, or whatever you want to be a penguin this week, fine. But the only problem you get there is if somebody decides to be a dog and somebody runs them over, have they killed the domestic pet or have they committed a crime? I'll leave that one for you. It doesn't make any sense. But you've got two problems here. Firstly, they're very noisy. And I think this has all come out of the education system where people have been becoming over-empowered because their voices are becoming too noisy. There's a lack in the middle to say, come on, calm down, that doesn't make any sense. It's just let them get away with it. And then over this side, it starts to fire back often more aggressively by dissecting it. Like a good one is what is a woman, and this side often gets completely lost on that one, which is the point. The common sense bit is removed from too much these days. But this education system that we've been engaging with, I even see myself. So I'm doing a master's degree at the moment, and in that master's degree there's a fixation on things that have nothing to do with actual leadership and management, which is the course about. First essay I got to review, etc. Black History Month. It may shock you. I'm not from an area of the world that has a population that is from Africa, etc. I'm not from a demographic of people from Africa or other parts of the world that are black. I'm Scottish, Irish with a hint of Denmark. My history is more aligned with Vikings, Romans, Saxons, etc. Those are my history. But why is this on a master's degree course? Most recently, Ramadan and Eid. Just send me a bit going over, well, if you've got people from a Muslim faith, just let them have, if you want to go and pray, let them go and pray, etc. Fine. Don't need to get into the bigger piece. I'm not interested. LGBTQ, okay, I understand that we're in a society where if you speak out, you just get sacked. Fine, that's what we call accepting these days. It used to be called fascism. Women's history. What's it? Women in business and women. What is the obsession with this stuff? I mean, I'm not being funny. I go to work, and my wife will tell you, I don't even like my job. But I don't expect to get an award just for turning up. I just expect to be paid what I'm owed. I mean, I didn't even take an Easter egg from the business. That's how much, I'm not happy at the minute. They say, oh, you can have an Easter egg. I don't want one. Keep it. But the point being is, you've got to turn around and realise a lot of this stuff is education. It's being politically driven. You should empower women. You should do this. Right. I see the women that are actually fighting in Ukraine as empowered women. I respect those women. Somebody that's a CEO of a business that probably got it because they had to change the demographic for political reasons and more business contracts. Not so much. And in fact, I know there's a lot of people that feel that this new one has come out, imposter syndrome. I wonder why people think they've got imposter syndrome. Okay, I'm moving on for this one because it does bug me because I see it too often. I see too many people overlooked. It's not just because people are guys as well. A lot of this stuff is around like putting graduates in that are unskilled, uneducated, and often got really crappy personalities. The best ones I've worked with have always been from overseas because they have humbling built into them, because they come from bad backgrounds, they've experienced poverty, they've experienced hardship. Not somebody that's come from a council estate that's then had a degree in something that was all funded and scholarship and all that nonsense. The guys that I've had from elsewhere have had to earn it, even to get the placement to get on that list. So that's why I have a lot of time for people from the Philippines, I have a lot of time from people from Peru and other places that basically they know what hardship is. Now, don't get me wrong, looking at the UK today, we're not far from it now. But I see too many people in the corporate world that are clueless. But what happens is they'll come in and start trying to learn everything. It's sort of like learn everything you can from that guy, because we're going to sack him and you're going to take his job because you're at least 30% cheaper than that guy, and he won't do an 80-hour week where you're going to feel empowered and important because we've given you a job that you're not really capable of, but we're going to drive you into the ground by pushing you and pushing you and pushing you until you eventually break. Then we'll replace you with somebody else, but don't worry about that. But the whole emphasis is that sort of stuff's not new. I mean, that's been going on. I mean, in the corporate stuff, I started seeing that probably in the early 90s. It's not a new thing, but don't think that this whole graduate thing's about empowering youth or whatever. It's for using and abusing. Okay. Now I'll get onto the boats. See, the boats... you know, the weird thing is, a lot of this stuff I just pick up on the news stuff because I try and avoid it. But it's like I seen Richie Sunak, almost like that, you know, with looking at the boat issue with this coming in from across the old Calais crossing, and going, oh yeah, we're going to sort this. Sorry, you were sorting it before and you're still not sorting. You ain't doing nothing. Ain't doing nothing. And this is the big problem with all of this stuff, is we get this, we get this. Nobody's saying you're crap at your job, let's get rid of it. Or, right, what are you doing, how are you doing it, and when are you starting? It's all about promises. Yeah, it's Labour, it's Conservatives. No, what are you actually doing? How are you fixing it? How are you going to put this together? Let's actually see something of value rather than a couple of paragraphs of promises that you've no intention of keeping. That's my thoughts on that. Now we're on to Moscow. The Moscow's a peculiar one because I've got to admit I do watch Denis Davrov every day on the Ukraine war. Now I've got friends that are Russian, I've got friends that are Ukrainian, and both of them are not invested in this war, in the sense of they don't want the war. They're not getting dragged into hate each other or all that sort of stuff, because here we are in Spain, we're in a community where people are from everywhere. When we had an influx of Ukrainians into this area, we proactively helped house people, find properties for them. We gave a load of stuff to the school as well, for the kids, for milk and things like that. Because let's face it, that's a real crisis. They've got a reason to be here. They don't want to be here. many of the people that we know, their husbands are in shipping. Their wives and that are here for safety. And this is the thing that you get from here and here, is like over this side, the fixation may be on they're all engineers, doctors, and blah blah blah. On this side, they go, these guys are coming in, stealing all our jobs, da da da. In the middle is the understanding that a lot of these people don't want to be here. In fact, we know several that have gone back, because one of the problems is, I think the Ukrainian government's doing a bit of a land grab on the empty houses. That's my understanding of what I've been hearing from Ukrainians. So if the house is unoccupied, etc., I think the government's stealing the land, from what I'm hearing. Maybe other guys can inform me on that, because my Ukrainian's not the best, but it's not the first time. Like I said, 3 different people not connected with each other that I've mentioned the same thing. In the same way, a few have gone back to protect their houses, and you can see what's going on there. The entire cities are being levelled. A bit in the middle perspective, the impact of these things on people is severe. But we'll become fixated on, we're being told they're all doctors, engineers, whatever the media's doing, and we go, well, that's a load of nonsense. 20 of them are working in the local restaurants and bars, and then these guys are going, they're taking all our jobs. Yeah, you've got this going on. You go, well, hang on, they're not really taking all your jobs, because of Brexit. A lot of the Brits ain't working in the bars now anymore. So fixation. And then you get into the rhetoric, what was going on in with Moscow, and they was trying to blame the Ukrainians for that attack, even though ISIS have actually stepped forward and says, yeah, it's one of ours. How would you connect these two? But this gets into the perspective here. We cannot see what is going on inside Russia. That media is not as open like we are here. Our media, although it's very propaganda, fake, manipulated, you've still got the YouTube. You've still got access to other people that have got different perspectives, and maybe in the local area, maybe video in it at the time, whatever. So you can actually, if you want to invest the time to investigate stuff, you've got more information there. Don't get me wrong, I fully understand this side is just flooding things and trying to control the media. I do think, my personal view is, I do think this is also going on within things like Google searches and stuff as well. And then if you look at the AI stuff, you can definitely see that's manipulated. It's all got political motivations. There's a lot of problems. I mean, you've just seen that with it, was it the Google AI, how well that went. If you haven't seen that, have a search on it, because that just shows you how mad some of this stuff is now. And the final one I want to bring up today, because I know it's already 33 minutes. This is the same in America as it is the UK. Your identity is being removed. Whether you want to accept it or not, it's being removed. See, for me, the Britishness, you say to people, what is being British? It's like you're starting to see where they're trying to take out the, it's like they're saying the countryside's racist in the UK. Nuts. But like flying the Union flag, starting to become, that's offensive. And then we get into Sadiq Khan flying the Pakistani flag in London for Pakistani Day or whatever it was. And people become outraged, but at the same time, my view is, you want to fly that, not got an issue, but do not complain about the flag of the countries. And I say countries, you see, because there you go, England's got its flag, Scotland's got its flag, Wales, Ireland. Fly your flags of your nations. That's yours. That's part of your heritage, your identity, etc., etc. That's part of the Britishness. That is part of who you are, and that's part of what I think people need to start re-emphasising. I do think we should have British days and things like that. And I know some people actually will complain about that type of stuff because it's sort of, well, that's just being raised. It's not. And I'm not going to down the route, if you're not happy, leave. Because my view on it is very simple. It's like, don't participate. You know, it's like the Ramadan and Eid stuff. Don't want to read about it, but I accept that's your festivals or religious events, etc. I don't need to be engaged in it. Pink hair crowd and all that sort of stuff, they there, whatever. Okay, that's fine. If that's what you want, it's fine. But I will not be calling you they there. And it's not even about the pink hair or whatever. In reality, I don't call most people by their names because I meet a lot of people on a rotating basis, and like the business I'm in, it loses so many staff on a regular basis. So you don't become too engaged too much. It's a bit like trying to go which engineers are in which building. No idea, because every time I go to a building, it's a new engineer. So I will literally just go, oh, the engineer at whatever clinic or whatever it is, because his phone number will be the same, very likely a different person. And that's the whole there in that. So, right, I accept you want to be called they there or penguin, that's fine. But I'm not going to call you it. I'm just going to go, hey, can you do this or whatever. I'm just giving you no pronouns at all. And that's not new. That's not me being anti this or that. I've always done that. I've always gone down the route because it saves me remembering people's names I'll never meet again. It also saves me having to get it. Do you know what started it though? Ms. Oh, I'm not a Mrs. I'm a Ms. I'm not a Miss. I'm a Ms. What? Well, where's your badge? Because I've got no idea what the hell you're talking about. So you just go, hey, hi, how are you doing? You don't mention anything. You may go, what's your first name? But you don't get into the Miss and Miss, which is really weird because the Miss, Ms, or whatever, is actually more of a sign of respect. Because I mean, when I'm in the Philippines, you will get people go engineer whatever or doctor such and such. They will use the titles people have earned. And we got people that are actually trying to create new titles for things that aren't really that important. And to the masses. It's important to the individual, because obviously otherwise why would you be flapping around about it? But it's not important to the masses. And that's why I find that stuff a bit weird, because I'm just like, why are you so hung up on it? Because you want to be called there or whatever, but nobody in here is even... They probably don't even call you that. They probably call you Mick or whatever, because that's your actual name. The only people you're going to get in a problem with pronouns are people trying to get you into a restaurant or Mr. You know what? They don't know your name. How bizarre. Back to being British though. I think it's important that we actually encourage pride in ourselves, pride in where we come from, pride in who we are, not just as ourselves, but to others, our children, our relatives, or whatever. Not in a forced way, like go forward and spread the word of God or whatever. Not that extreme, but be symbolic in the sense of setting the standard. I mean, one of the biggest problems I see, which is like a bit like the guys on the train. Anybody watch this video long enough, they'll probably go, oh yeah, Matt's racist as well about these guys on the train. But I look at it from a completely different perspective. I understand these guys have got a strange direction in life, and I understand they're probably from a crappy background. But where are their role models? Where is their opportunities to get out of the crap? Hence, that's why I fixate on the middle. Because I understand the value of boxing gyms. I understand the value of karate, dojos, people doing stuff that gives them strength because a lot of this comes from weakness. People often carry arms because of weakness, because they don't feel safe, they don't feel they can handle themselves, they feel that they get jumped or whatever. But doing martial arts, doing boxing, firstly, it gives you community. Secondly, it gives you a place to go. You know, when you're really angry, really annoyed, or really frustrated, or really down, you can go and train. You can get your anger out, get your fitness up, because when you get that rush, when you're feeling, I'm tired, my chest's sore, my arms are sore, my legs sore, you come out and feel alive. Too many people haven't got that anymore. And that's why I think, even though these guys were obviously fixated on the wrong things, part of it is the bits in the middle. We look at the UK society and how it's declining. People keep going on about food banks and all these other things that are not out within the state. While the state wasted money on PPE that it never used, and we have reduced services on a constant basis. There is a big problem in the middle. A lot of the community hubs aren't there anymore. A lot of the spaces are not there anymore. Land's been sold off. We're looking at an environment that needs to change. And it ain't going to be a cheap change either, because let's face it, if you devalue properties to ease the burden for the masses, there ain't going to be a lot of happy people that own those properties. Because if you're suddenly dropping 100,000 off somebody's property, they ain't going to be happy. So you've got two alternatives. One, create inflation so that they and keep their house prices stagnant, or you've got to devalue the values of the properties. Because building more houses doesn't seem to fix the problem, because we still keep getting more and more people coming. In the same way, my utopia in my version is the ability to actually have worth in an environment, food on the table, a roof over your head, and the access to travel and educate. I think if most people had those 5 things, I think most people would be in a good space. But a lot of people don't have them. And that's why a lot of these problems we've got are all connected in the same way. A lot of it, people go poverty. Poverty is too easy a word. Poverty. What is poverty? Well, because they haven't got any money. Yeah, no. It's bigger than that. They can't afford a home, yet the rent. I mean, one of the guys I work with, his rent in London, even though it's a local authority house, £800 a month. £800 a month. And I know some people are paying £1,200 a month rent, which means some people, it's nearly their entire income is paid on rent. That's just wrong. We shouldn't be in that position. The prices are too high. And they're high because of demand. Demand is high because there's too many people coming into the country. Then we start going, the country can't take any more people. I don't agree with that either. The country could take more people, but the problem is the way the system's set up, it's not functioning for the majority of people. Whether you're poor or what was middle class. Because let's face it, the middle class are heavily squeezed at the minute. So it's an interesting video, this one. Fairly long, nearly an hour. But I thought I'll throw it out there. Because I want more comments on this type of stuff, because it will spin the next videos, and then we'll start trying to get some podcasts and get people in so we can talk about this stuff. So I think it is important. For me, like I says, I look at a lot of the stuff going on and I can see it's a problem in society. Even my son's friends actually follow some of the stuff I do, and I've had some, like Ben followed a lot of the stuff on the personal development and stuff on this channel. So I know the information's right. I do think a lot of people need to understand that we shouldn't pressurize people to be the best they could be all the time. I think what people need to be focused on is where you are now. Can you be content in the space you're in? You know, it's a bit like when you have a crap work job, or you're constantly under the threat of being sacked. Your fixation becomes that. You need to move it to the present, because that job, it's not worth that risk, in the sense of that's not good for your health, it's not good for your mental state, it's not good for anything. Become based. Focus on the now, focus on where you are, focus on what you've achieved up to that point. Tomorrow's always another day, even when things go wrong. It's always another day. But anyway, thanks for watching.